You're watching Sports Tonight Live. This is the Six Nations Rugby Show. I'm Roger Williams and I'm joined by former England coach Dick Best and Ben Coles of the rugbyblog.co.uk. Gentlemen, when we started this tournament, we were talking about Wales and France going for the Grand Slam and Scotland and Italy fighting it out for the wooden spoon. It was all going to plan, and then England put a twist in the tail. Dick Best, what a weekend it was.
Sensational. One of the best performances we've seen from the English side for some years. To outscore the French 3-1, I think. Phenomenal. The way they held up in the front five, scrum time was magnificent. The line out functioned. A few dodgy throws to start with, but it functioned quite well. And the backs got on the front foot and we took our opportunities. Didn't actually create too much, but we took our opportunities and we finished. So we put the French under considerable pressure. You
could say that Philippe Saint-André, it all turned out to be a bit of a nightmare putting Boksis and Dupuis there, but really that's taking away from the England performance.
Yeah, I think it is. Just going on what Dick said about outscoring them 3-1, I think it was the manner of those tries as well. They've spoken about being able to play attacking rugby, and we hadn't seen it until Paris, and then three really excellent tries from Tuilagi and Foden and Tom Crofts as well to win the game. That's what you want to see from your more experienced players, trying to just take the game by the scruff of the neck and make some magic happen, and a fantastic result, really important result for Stuart Lancaster.
Where were you watching it, Dick? I bet you were screaming at the telly with delight.
I was at home, having been at a mini rugby festival with my son since 8:30. And he managed to get to the final, and we had to leave before the presentation of the medals and things like that in order to get home in time for the game. His choice, not mine. But I gave him a bit of a nudge, dragged him off in the car, and we got home just in time for the start of it. And I'm glad we did, really, because it wasn't the sort of game you wanted to come into halfway through. You know, you wanted to see it right from the start, because it was a fair old effort, you'd have to say.
When was the last time you felt like that? You know, as a former England coach and having seen some good performances over the years, when was the last time you can remember feeling? I mean, I bet you were there, puffed out chest.
I would have to say, I was having a delicious sort of salad niçoise on my lap, so I couldn't get too excited.
That doesn't suit you at all, Ben.
I was going to say.
I would say the last time I actually felt like that was probably 2003 in November in Sydney at the Rugby World Cup final, because the manner, the result was sort of unexpected. I didn't expect England, A, to play like that, B, to get a result against the French. I couldn't believe that the French would play poorly for 2 weeks on the trot, you know, after the Irish game where they'd drawn. So it was, for me, completely unexpected, but the manner in which they won the game was superb, and you'd have to put your hand up and say, well done. You know, there wasn't anybody in that England side that you could fault. I got really annoyed with Ashton when he pushed someone under the sticks, you know, got involved in that little contretemps under the sticks. He didn't need to do that.
He's been frustrated, though, through the whole tournament, and I think that just sort of highlighted it.
Yeah, he's been quite clear, and he said that when he's not scoring tries, he's not happy. And the two kind of just seem to come together. He's not being played at Northampton because he's fallen out with Jim Mallender over this move to Saracens, and Mallender seems to have basically said, well, you're not going to play for me anymore. And so this lack of game time meaning that he's not scoring tries. I think there were, whilst it was a fantastic win, there were negatives that England would have looked at this week. I think they missed something like 21 tackles, which is alarming. But then that kind of complements how intense the game was, and Charlie Sharples had a really rough time of it coming in as such a late replacement for David Strettle. But overall, a really fantastic win. But there are things to work on. I don't think England should forget that this week.
Martin Johnson never really got a performance like that out of his England side, did he?
I don't know. I think they won down in Australia under Martin's charge. And
was
I
it
think
that sort of a performance, though?
It wasn't, but it was a different sort of game. It was gutsy. It was heavily based on defence and putting the Aussies under pressure and putting them under pressure in the tight scrum. That was, listen. They under his charge, they won some pretty good games. Don't undermine Martin Johnson, because he his record of
I wouldn't to his face. Obviously.
No, I wouldn't. If he's-
I'm doing it here in the
dangerous
comfort of the
game.
sports
Yeah,
tonight.
right. He won 10 out of the last 13 games, so you know his record is pretty good as far as not as good as mine, but it's pretty good.
Now, the situation then, Stuart Lancaster's done a great job. Graham Roundtree's gone off on one, saying that it's ridiculous they're going into the final game of the Six Nations not knowing their futures. Not really, is it? I'd imagine that you wait until the end of the tournament and you evaluate. I mean, what if England get, humped by Ireland? I don't think they will.
I think he's the one member of that coaching team who shouldn't worry about whether he'll be involved or not, because Graham Roundtree is one of the best coaches that we've produced in recent years. He's adored by that forward pack. They rate him so highly that I can't see any way England would go on without him. But with regards to Stuart Lancaster, wouldn't be the right time before the Ireland game to say, let's appoint you now and let's make this clear, because as you say, what happens if they go out and they have a really terrible game against Ireland and it all falls apart? You don't want to rush. You don't want to have a Martin Johnson situation where you rush into it again. You want to take your time about it, and you want to wait till the tournament finishes. And the first round of interviews have been done. Wait until after the Ireland game, have the second round, and then make a decision. That seems like the most practical way to do it.
I've got to say, I was pulling people's leg when I was doing hospitality, saying that for England it's all about development. Well, the development stage seems to be, over and done with rather quickly.
Yes,
or am I
and
getting
no.
overexcited for you there?
I don't think they would think that. I don't think Stuart Lancaster would think the development is over and done with. I think they're a new side. I think it clicked. Certain parts of it clicked. They took their opportunities and their chances, and they scored some tries against the French. Is this a vintage French side? No, it's a side in disarray. They don't understand the defensive system that they're trying to play. They don't look as comfortable, and they don't look like the attacking weapon that we've seen in recent years in the Six Nations. So you've got to put it all into context. I think all three of the coaches have every reason to be worried, to be perfectly honest, about their jobs, because
They can be worried, but they can't be annoyed.
well,
about the situation.
I think they should be worried, because if for any reason they don't give the job to Lancaster and they appoint somebody like Nick Mallett is such a strong-minded coach, as most coaches are. He will want his own team around him. He may not want Graham Roundtree. He may not want Stuart Lancaster or Andy Farrell. He will want to bring in his own people. And from what I'm hearing, on the grapevine, that if Nick Mallett gets the job, then you would be looking at somebody like Gary Gold, perhaps, coming in as a forwards coach. So bye-bye Graham Roundtree. So I think he's got every good reason to be worried about what he's doing in 6 months' time.
Do you think Lancaster will get the job?
Do I? I have a funny feeling that they've kept it under wraps. There's been very few leaks, which is unusual for the RFU.
They're good at those.
There have been very, very few leaks, and I just get the feeling that there might be a big hitter in there somewhere, like Sir Clive Woodward. And if he comes in, all well and good, I don't have any problem with that. But he also will want his own coaching team together, and those three guys might not be included in it. So it could be all change. I personally hope now that they give Stuart Lancaster a chance, because he's proved himself in a very short space of time with an amazing 3 months.
I wonder if our Skyper will agree. Ben, you know that chap, don't you?
Do indeed.
Hello.
James Hutchins, how are you? From the rugbyblog.co.uk. What do you think? Lancaster gets the job? Is he the right man?
I think he could be the right man, but I don't think he'll get the job. I just think they're going to want, as you're saying, a big hitter to come in. There was a lot of talk after the World Cup about who was accountable for appointing the next coach, and they're just not going to take any chances. And so I think they're gunning for Nick Mallett, who's got a proven track record, and that way they can say, well, we got the best man we could. I think Lancaster would be more of a risk, and having failed with the Johnson debacle, I don't think they'll be in the mood to take risks this time.
Well, what if they were to win the Six Nations, which they are in a position where they could?
Mathematically, but
well,
I can't see them winning. They've certainly exceeded expectations.
Isn't that good enough? You exceed expectations?
Well, okay, exceeded expectations in one fixture so far. They lost at home to Wales, and then it's a good win against a pretty
Yeah, but only
diabolical
just.
French
I mean,
team.
you know, most people like Dick and
you know,
Ben
is
go
that
on
enough?
about that game. That was just a stroke of luck that you lost to Wales. I'm glad, James, you're realistic. Thank you very much. That's more like we should have you in the studio.
Hey,
I didn't
there's
feel
no
lucky
need
that
for
day,
that. Come
being
on.
an England fan, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, it could have gone either way, but it was a home defeat. The performance was better, but I still don't think you can appoint a rookie coach on the back of this Six Nations campaign.
All right, James, stay with us and jump in as we discuss the other fixtures. Scotland, we felt that they would fall down over in Dublin, and they did. Yet again, it was a good first half performance. They're good at that. It's that good first half. They're in the game, and then
they're putting.
Well, they were.
They're putting bits and pieces together, aren't they? They're putting. They can't put an 80-minute performance together and close the game down and win a game, which is frustrating for Andy Robinson and I would imagine for the players. I think they've certainly got to, for their own sake, win this game comfortably against Italy. If they play anything like they've played so far in this tournament against Italy, they should win comfortably. But the Italians also see an opportunity here. You know, rugby is a funny game. It's in Rome. It's going to be very difficult. The Bet Butler has told us that nobody really thrashes the Italians in Rome.
Bet Butler coming up later on in the show, and he can tell us again.
Yes.
He will, yeah.
So, you know, we're in this position where the Scots need to perform again and show us all, and especially show their own supporters, that yes, they're in a development stage and they're looking to try and improve the game and they're looking to close the game out and win one. Because if they don't, I think there's going to be a lot of frustration. Well, there's going to be a lot of frustration up in Scotland, and they will want someone's head to roll for this, I'm pretty sure. But what we've seen behind the scenes up in Glasgow is we've seen Sean Lineen moved into a quasi job in the SRU. We've seen Gregor Townsend being sort of moved out of the national setup into this Glasgow role. Nice job if you can get it. You know, when your back play has been pretty dire, this Six Nations, all of a sudden you get given the head coach's role in one of your premier teams.
I'm looking at the running order here, and James, you can help me here because I thought it might have been written by Ben or Dick. It says Wales labouring past Italy, 24-3. I mean, okay, it was the first half. Italy, what was the tackle count was like 76-6. You know, they put up a good defence.
Yeah, and they are a tough team to play against Italy. Wales weren't at their best, but
They didn't have to
still
be.
put 20 odd points past them. I think the Scots are going to have a hard time this weekend. I think they haven't really got much of a cutting edge, and I think you need to be patient and you need to take your chances against Italy, particularly playing them in Rome. So I think they're going to struggle, and I think as you say, heads will roll, and could be Andy Robinson, on his way out if they lose.
I hate to sort of call for anyone's job, but if it was in football, if you were an international manager in football and you sort of had that sort of record, it would be ta-da, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't. We don't want to be looking to football for examples of how to treat their coaches.
No, but it's not. But if you can't win a game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it seems to me that he's doing a decent job, but he's just not getting the results on the field. And ultimately, they've got to be judged on the results. They're way down the IRB rankings, and threatened to perform a few times, but haven't quite found it. So if they do lose to Italy, his position does seem untenable.
Wales will need to back their ideas up, Ben, won't they?
They will. Yeah, I thought.
Come France.
I thought
be a little upset.
The Cuthbert trial kind of glossed over what really was a really tough performance. I mean, Italy made, I think it was like you said, 120 tackles or something.
In the whole game,
something ridiculous.
It was 76 in the first half.
I mean, that's an obscene figure, but that's also down to the pressure. Every time Wales seemed to get in the 22, they would drop passes or there were errors, and if you're being put under that pressure by Italy, then what are France going to do to you when you've got Bonaire and Harry Nordicki and Pape and Dusautoir in your face? I mean, it's that kind of. Wales are going to have to be a lot sharper this week, but
I think they know that.
Will you win?
I think Wales know that. I think that was the classic game before the Grand Slam game. You know, going to Italy, expected to win, expected to score a lot of points. Nobody really wants to get injured. Nobody wants to, do anything stupid in that Wales squad, because they all know that the big weekend is this weekend. Yeah. So it's just a question of going there, winning the game, getting out of Italy as quickly as possible, and getting back to prepare for the French, which is going to be a real test.
Player of the weekend, starting with you, James. The standout performance, if you had to pick one. Tough question, I know, but.
Tom Croft impressed me, even though I'm slightly reluctant to say it, as Ben will know.
Yeah,
he was excellent.
That's not a surprise. I did have a text within minutes of the final whistle, minutes, saying I've always rated Tom Croft. So yeah, that's not a surprise at all.
He's not a true six in my eyes, but he showed on Saturday or Sunday rather, that England do need him in the side.
Yeah.
For you, Ben?
Yeah, player of the weekend. I thought that, Croft was excellent. Ben Morgan's first half was outstanding, especially in the build-up to that try with Ben Foden. But then so many Irish guys stood out. Rob Kearney was again excellent. So yeah, I'd give it to Rob Kearney, actually, who we'll be talking about later.
Best,
I think.
talking about Irish. Best didn't do too badly, did he, as captain, hooker?
He did a very, very good job, and he's been around a long time. He's going to win. He's going to be the most capped hooker in Ireland this coming weekend. So, he knows what it's all about. He did very well. But for me, the player of the weekend, I think, was Fofana, who's now scored in every game. And every time he touches the ball, he looks dangerous. He comes from depth, at speed. He normally beats the first tackler, and is just, he's fulfilling his promise at the moment.
Right, James, thanks a lot for joining us.
Pleasure.
You're looking serious there as we say goodbye. Something worrying you?
Where am I? I'm in the office.
No, something worrying you, I said.
I'm sorry, say again?
Was there something worrying you? You looked rather stressed.
I was actually looking at the result of the 17-15 at Cheltenham.
Another one bites the dust, mate.
Unlucky.
Good, because I was about to click the button on go on, I can't even remember the name of the horse, but it didn't win, and your call stopped me putting the bet, so I'm up.
So you're thanking us. You're very welcome. Not at all. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Ben
mate.
and Dick staying here, of course. This is the Six Nations Rugby Show on Sports Tonight Live. We're back in a couple of minutes. You're watching Sports Tonight Live. This is the Six Nations Rugby Show. I'm Roger Williams, joined by former England coach Dick Best and Ben Coles of the rugbyblog.co.uk. Gentlemen, let's look ahead to this week's games. And we'll start with the Grand Slam match down in Cardiff. Big occasion. It is going to be a fantastic match, I think.
I think it's going to be an exceptional game. You've got one side that is Wales, that is clearly a very, very good team, and you have to be a good team to win a Grand Slam, and they have all the components to, for that. And it's up to their big players to really step up to it. France won't give it away. France thrive on these situations. But it's been an awful Six Nations for them. They've not really captured anyone's hearts or imagination. Have they got one big game in them? They're the only team in the world that have one big game in them. Are they party poopers? Yes, they are. But away from home, not happy with the defence. It hasn't really functioned for them. I don't know, I just get a feeling that they won't chuck in the towel, but it just won't happen for them because they're not good enough at the moment.
You're right with that one game, though. You just got to look at the World Cup. I know that was under, a different regime and it was completely bonkers under Livermore, but still, that final, they were outstanding. And, there is that worry that for the Welsh, that is the game where, because they've got the potential, they've got, fantastic players there, it just hasn't quite gone off on all cylinders, is it?
No, it hasn't. They rarely have two bad games in a row, but they have the last 2 weeks against Ireland when they took ages to get into it and come back, and then for such long patches against England last week they were so off the pace. So surely they can't have a bad game 3 games in a row. And there's nothing more dangerous than a French side with the pressure off. Now that they're not going for a title or for a Grand Slam, they can literally just go out and play and perform, and many of them are actually playing for their shirts, and a lot of them are actually playing their last games. You've got William Servat coming off the bench, who I think this is going to be his final test. So you've got guys like him, they'll want to play for Servat and for Nally, who's recently retired. Those guys, they're going to want a good send-off. So I think they could be quite lethal.
The buzz in Wales around this game is incredible. I mean, tickets, well, forget it, you just can't get them. You know, I spoke to somebody the other day, I was trying to get tickets, and he said, you know, he's got a debenture. He said, you know, I'd like to go, but I'll sell them for £1,000 for a pair. £1,000 a pair? In Wales? Never!
I think what's happened is that the tickets now have fallen into the hands of people who actually want to go to the game and want to go and see the potential of Wales winning a Grand Slam. The biggest problem for Wales is they have the Grand Slam within their grasp. It's whether they grab it or not, whether they're good enough. And that's what I mean about a Grand Slam
but
team.
This young side has that sort of cutting edge, that finishing, that belief all of a sudden.
But
we never used to have that as a nation. We always used to sort of think, yeah, we're all right, but, you know.
There is a belief, but I think underneath it all, I think there is still a worry that if France come out and play, it doesn't matter who they play. If France actually come out and play, forget about your Grand Slam, because they'll beat you.
In 2005, when we won the first of 3, should we get this one, in a period of 7 years, it was quite magnificent. When we won in 2005, you said, I remember you said to me that the foundations of Welsh rugby were built on sand.
This is correct.
I did remind you that the pyramids were also built on sand.
I was
And
actually,
they've been around for millions.
I was actually proved right. You won the Grand Slam in 2005, and you were just off the wooden spoon in 2006. So,
And then there was the World Cup with Fiji. So
so you were
I'd forgotten about that.
Oh, convenient. That
So
was,
you were bordering. You know, you had the ability. This, I would have to say, is a better side than the 2005 crop.
Yeah.
And I think the management is slightly better as well. In fact, infinitely better with Gatland and Sean Edwards. I think, you know, Sean Edwards is the sort of guy, when you get to finals, you know, he's got a terrific record, and there's a reason for that.
Do you think Wales will do everything they can to keep the setup as it is? But of course,
they'll try their hardest. I'm not sure individually how long each deal lasts, but Gatland especially, I think he probably doesn't get the amount of credit he actually deserves for how much belief he has put in these young guys by picking them and having the guts to push them into the international arena. And that's why he's the favourite for the Lions job next year, because of the work he's done with these young Welsh guys. So I think there might be a slight bit of worry, but I can see them wanting to be part of this side through to 2015. And then reassessing what they want to do.
But who takes over after Gatland? If Gatland disappears and does the Lions,
It's the cream of the crop there.
hands up who wants that job.
Stuart Lancaster might be available.
And
He
not-
could
not
very
doing
well
badly.
be. Well, look who we've got on the Skype wall. Gosh, that's a serious face. Phil. Ah, there we are, that's better. It's you must be a Scotland fan with a face like that.
You're right, I am a Scotland fan.
Are you worried about the weekend?
Sorry again?
Are you worried about this game on the weekend against Italy?
Personally, I'm not worried, but I think the Scotland setup probably are quite concerned about the forward strength of the Italians.
Anything else that they'll be worried about?
Well, looking at the Scotland team they picked, I would be a bit concerned about the number 10 channel, simply because Greg Laidlaw is a bit small. And so is Rory Jackson. I think they would have been better putting on somebody a bit stockier like Duncan Weir.
Listen, as a Welsh fan, we've been through some pretty grim times. I remember in the 80s, it wasn't so fantastic. Are you fed up by now, Phil? Have you just had enough? Come on, tell the truth.
I guess you could say that after 12 years it's beginning to grate a little that we haven't managed to compete in the Six Nations at all. We've really only been propping up the bottom half since it started. And yes, I guess we are getting a bit fed up of our position.
Phil, to be fair there, you said after 12 years you deserve a medal for actually, lasting 12 years before it's beginning to grate.
We've always been reasonably optimistic every time we've gone into a game. We've always felt that we've had a chance. There were times when we were being resoundingly hammered by everybody, but even so, we still managed to win at least one game, except in 1 year. This year, apart from our poor performance against Ireland, we've been within one score of the opposition every time. So I don't think that we're too pessimistic about the future. We think that we're beginning to get a management team and coaching teams in place that will get the best out of our current crop. Where we do have a problem is in the youth setup and the number of players that are available at that level and the number of players that are coming into that level.
Phil, if we talk about the young players, though, there's actually so many bright talents coming through. You talk about Dave Denton, Lee Jones, Stuart Hogg, who's really caught the eye, and then others such as Duncan Weir. Does that kind of keep your optimism burning a bit when you look at all these guys coming through?
It does, principally because there are a lot of other youngsters of that age who are yet to be tried out. The Six Nations and previously the World Cup has allowed the younger players to stake a claim, if you like, in the professional teams. And since we've had a change in the administrative management setup, there's a bit more concentration on trying to keep those players within the boundaries of Scotland.
And there's plenty of coaching changes happening as well, with Scott Johnson coming in and Matt Taylor, which is an amazing signing as he's just come from a championship winning side with the Reds. You've got those guys coming in, but is Andy Robinson the right man at the top for you going forward?
Well, I made reference to the administrative management of the SRU. Up until last summer, that management was very cost conscious, and so anybody under contract had to stay in post effectively, which meant that Andy Robinson couldn't make many changes to his coaching team. Now that those shackles have been released, he's able to bring in people that he wants to have in place. We are a bit concerned that this latest announcement that was made on Sunday, Monday, was done a bit hurriedly and seems to be a bit shambolic in what they're doing with Sean Leneen.
All right, Phil, thank you very much for your time. What is it about
okay.
the Scots are very serious. There's no joy, there's no fun in the rugby at the moment.
They've had a lot of it knocked out of them. If you continually are down the basement of the Six Nations, it is very, very difficult to lift yourself above it. And they've had a particularly bad year. They bombed out of the World Cup without getting into the quarterfinal stages, first time ever. They've now, they're now fighting for their lives for that basement slot.
Well, this next chap, he'll be chirpy because he's Irish. Kieran O'Reilly, an Irish journalist. Bit tasty this match on the weekend, isn't it? England, Ireland, Kieran?
Yeah, it's always fairly interesting, and it's nice that you guys have put it up on St. Patrick's Day as well to add a bit of excitement. I think Ireland have had a great recent period in Twickenham, and it was very hard one to call this one, actually. I don't know if you guys are feeling very chipper and confident.
I think winning in Paris has helped slightly. But, I mean, it's a pretty tough thing to do. But then looking at the Irish side, I've been really impressed with how you've coped without O'Connell and O'Brien last week, but also O'Driscoll throughout the tournament. And there's plenty to be plenty to be chirpy about with Irish rugby with the young guys.
The whole thing the whole thing as well is, that's St. Patrick's Day. That's a big factor, and of course Cheltenham. I mean, it's Irish week, isn't it?
What a week!
Well, it always sort of falls. It always falls in that sort of area, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It always falls. Cheltenham is always that sort of, February, March time. So it suits us. It's totally irrelevant, really, on the day when the two teams run out there and cross the white line and play. you know, it's up to two very good teams to try and to win the game. But to be perfectly honest, the Irish team have been together. Most of them have been together for a long time. They all understand how they play.
Kieran, how are you coping with the sort of gigantic Irish week? Are you at Cheltenham by any chance?
No, Dublin. Getting down to work and like the rest of the country, trying to make a few bob. I have made a few bob out of the horse racing, which was handy.
There you go.
Mr. Sacra is from Ireland or England or wherever the horse was born. I don't care, but he put a few bob in my bank account, so that's a good start. But as you were saying there about, you know, the lads have coped well without the O's, without O'Connell, without O'Driscoll. Last weekend, the one before was without Sean O'Brien as well. So, like, they've managed through there. I think it's somewhat cloaking the issue a little bit, though. Like, we probably should have beaten Wales on the opening day. Maybe wouldn't have been overly deserved, but gave away a silly penalty late on to lose that game. Should have won in France for the first time in over a decade when Brian O'Driscoll scored that famous hat-trick. And, you know, I think Ireland were 17-3 up at half-time, didn't score at all in the second half. So while you can say on one hand it's been very positive that they've done well without these guys, they've also squandered some great opportunities, and they could be heading to London this weekend looking for a Grand Slam title, which, you know, this team is full of players that have been incredibly successful provincially for both Leinster and Munster. I mean, many Heineken Cups are in this squad. It's a huge amount compared to Wales or Scotland or France even, and they still seem to struggle a little to transfer that into the green jerseys. And I think they'll really want to go out and beat England and kind of take them down off that pedestal that they're on at the moment. Even though England are in a bit of transition, and as you said, Ireland are a fairly consistent selection, they'll still want to go out and prove themselves this weekend.
Fantastic occasion, though. I mean, Dick Best, you've got your hospitality. How many have you got?
Oh, we're very busy. It's a record number of people for us, so it's a great day. And I would have to say that most of our clients are Irish.
I hope you're not spiking any of the food or dinner anyway, because they've come out of Twickenham celebrating the last few years that I've been there anyhow. So for some reason it's been a decent place for Irish teams in the last while, and if you go back before that, it was always a difficult place, and obviously because England generally had better teams, but it's kind of tied in with Irish sides getting the better over English sides in the Heineken Cup, and they've kept that going at the international level. And I think we remember Tommy Bowe's great try there a couple of years ago, and before that you can go back to Simon Gagan and Shane Horgan. You know, there's a great recent tradition there. I don't know about this weekend. It's going to be tough, because England will be very confident. They're obviously playing for their coach. They're playing for each other. There's a lot of confidence in there. I think Stephen Ferris said over here this week that England are really bad losers, which is always a good sign, because nobody likes a good loser. But he wants to make sure they're bad losers this weekend again. And I wouldn't bet against Ireland. You know, I wouldn't say they've really fired on all cylinders. Maybe in the first half against France, and they did quite well against Scotland, but they let in a couple of soft. They were a bit soft defensively against Scotland, so they've been up and down. They'll need an 80-minute performance against England, and I wouldn't want to call it too strongly either way. But it'll be an exciting match.
Kieran, thank you very much for your time. I can assure you as well that Dick Best would never spike his famous curry, whoever the opposition were. Kieran, thank you very much. Dick Best and Ben Coles, stay with me as we look next at the team or the best players in the tournament and construct, between the three of us, the team of the tournament. We're back in a couple of minutes. You're watching Sports Tonight Live. This is the Six Nations Rugby Show. I'm Roger Williams, and I'm joined by former England coach Dick Best and Ben Coles of the rugbyblog.co.uk. Right, we look at the player of the tournament shortlist now. It's a bit of an odd one, this, because it's simply the men of the match so far, Ben.
It's a very lazy kind of way of picking out the best players in the tournament. It's purely just going by a match and just picking out one name. I mean, the whole system needs an overhaul, because half of those names you could say are in with a fair shout of winning it, but then there's some like Donica Ryan who's had one start for Ireland, and yes, he played well, but that's not worthy of a championship accolade. And the same for Johan Maestri, who's been pretty poor the last couple of weeks. So they need to readdress it. They should really have a couple of captains from each country who sit down and just pick it, and can't pick from their own team and do it that way.
I mean, Denton had a good game against England, that opening match.
And not really featured since.
No, exactly. Dan Lydiate, I know you're not a fan. Dick.
No, not a great fan, but you know, what has he done in the Championship? You know, he hit a few rucks, made a few tackles. Has he won the game? Has he scored a try? Has he, you know, what has he done to merit being man of the match and being player of the tournament? I don't think so.
So that needs a little bit of an overhaul.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
some of the names that are missing off it. I mean, I suppose Mike Phillips, you know, Mike Phillips, you probably look as a
Oh, he's a contender.
Contender
He's
for
a
sure.
serious contender.
Aaron
He's been the
Ordeke.
glue.
Aaron Ordeke maybe, but you need guys on there like Tommy Bowe, who's the top try scorer in the tournament. I mean, the fact he's not there, it's just bizarre. Same for Rob Kearney, who's been one of the best players of the tournament, and I know there's no Englishman on there, and I'm not just saying this as an Englishman, but Owen Farrell's surely done enough to deserve a nod to be one of the best 12, given how he's come in as a kid and kicked all these goals.
This is why we have designed our very own team of the Championship, just to redress the balance. And first of all, just take note of this magnificent graphic. And as you can see in the top right-hand corner there, the Three Musketeers. But more important than the Three Musketeers are the choice of players in the sort of team of the tournament. Let's start at fullback, shall we?
Well, his consistency has been amazing, and right the way he's been, you know, he's been so safe at the back. He's cleared his lines, he's kicked well, he's run, he's tackled, he's done everything that's asked of him. Very close call, you know, between him and Halfpenny, I would say, for that slot.
Obviously, that was my choice.
Yes, it was, and
Yes.
a valid choice, but you were outvoted.
It's as simple as that, you see.
That's democracy for you.
It is democracy, and that's the way it is. Well, 14, he picks himself with his form, as you just mentioned. If you're the top try scorer, then you deserve to be there. And, you know, he is a consistent player at international level.
Oh, he's terrific. He's the rapier, isn't he? He just scores tries, and that's, you know, that's what he's good at. And there's no doubting that selection from all three of us, I would say. No. You know, there are some good players out there on the wings for all teams, but at the end of the day, Tommy Bowe comes in by a mile, doesn't he?
Yeah.
In the centre, Jonathan Davis.
Jonathan Davis, so impressive against Ireland in that first
Strong.
game. Yeah,
I mean, tremendous.
the way he scored and set up the try is just fantastic. And actually, centres are kind of a weak area because Rougerie has been dreadful. If Tuilagi had played more games, possibly he'd have been in there. If he played like he did against France anyway. So no, John Davies is a really obvious nod. And then I think we can say we're both big fans of Fofana at 12 with the way he scores tries.
There's so much expected of him in the tournament.
Yeah.
He's delivered.
Yeah.
Delivered. Try
Simple
per
as that.
game. You know, what more can you do? You know, he's looked exciting every time he's touched the ball. You know, he comes from depth, at speed, cuts the line generally, beats the first defender, and he's a handful to play against. And, you know, France have got a real gem come through there, and good luck to them.
Well, on one wing we had Tommy Bowe. On the other, no argument about that. George North.
No, he's been a bit quieter in the last couple of matches, but the way he just bursted into that Ireland game at the start of the
size of his
season.
arm.
Yeah, I mean the guy
that is a
giant.
Top, that's a top bicep. That is bicep, tricep, good shoulders.
Looking very fierce there as well.
I mean, he is incredible. You know, he does carry players on his back, and he has that impact.
He's special, and he's going to be a British Lion without doubt if he stays fit.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a huge influence on this game, I have a feeling. You know, he was pretty quiet last week, as you pointed out. But, you know, good players really come to the fore in the big games. And I think he's a good player.
At 10, well, we all agreed here. In comes the first Englishman in our team of the tournament, Owen Farrell. I mean, he's the game against France, I thought probably showed him at his best so far in the tournament. Would you agree the way he ran the show?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go on about Johnny Wilkinson, but he was reminiscent of a young Johnny Wilkinson. Some of the tackles he put in were just massive. And yes, he missed a simple kick off the post, but then his kicking in general has been good for a first season in the tournament. So, yep, obvious nod.
Mike Phillips.
Oh, by a country mile, the best scrum half in the tournament. He's a real threat and a handful. You know, people around the edges of rucks and scrums and that can't move until he's passed the ball. He makes the game easier for other players. You know, if Mike Phillips does this here, You know, it creates space for other people outside him, and he's had a terrific tournament from my view, and a strong candidate for player of the tournament.
Let's look at the front row as a whole, that mysterious area of the game, you know, all the things that go on there. But Healy, Best and Adam Jones there in the front row.
Yeah, not much of an argument there. Maybe you could have had Jean-Baptiste Pou at loose head, but I think Healy's been consistent and his work rate around the park has been outstanding as always. Rory Best, now Ireland's most capped hooker, he's been excellent, especially last week as captain. And then Adam Jones just shouting out Dan Cole, who was my vote and who I think's been outstanding all tournament. But
second row, Dick?
Second row, we've gone for the workhorse Botha, who hasn't had too much acclaim during this tournament, but just gets on with it. You know, makes double figures tackles, double figures.
Playing for England. You're
Not
going
just. No way. He's a convert. Isn't
I know.
He's helping us out from the Republic, and he's done. In my view, he's done very well. An unsung hero and a real workhorse, and is. You know, I can't think of anybody else who's really played in all the games and put in the amount of effort that boy has. And Richie Gray has been one of these players. He's been the spark most of the time for Scotland. He's made line breaks. He's done his work. He's cleaned out rucks. He's won line-out ball. He's done everything, and he's probably been one of Scotland's, potent attacking weapons.
Great try last week.
The try last week was top draw. Which just for us sort of caps a very, very good season.
He's also statistically the best as well. He's taken the most line-outs, I think, with 18, which is more than anyone else. So he's been phenomenal.
The back row, two Frenchmen, Dusautoir and Adenodiki, and I think you got outvoted on Lydiate because you didn't choose.
Yeah, I mean, Dusautoir pictured there has been consistently the best French player throughout the championship. Adenodiki not played in all the games, but I think we saw last week when he started, he was one of the few French players to really stand up and have a go, basically because he can't stand the sight of an Englishman and hates us with a passion, but he was brilliant. Lydiate, I'd rather have gone, instead of Lydiate, I'd have rather gone for the Irishman on the blind side.
Stevie Ferris.
Stephen Ferris, because...
Despite him calling you bad losers.
Well, we are.
Excuse me.
I am a bad loser. Yeah. Well, everyone's a bad loser. Anybody playing top-class sport is a bad loser. What does that mean? We're bored now with this.
You're a bad loser at Peruda, which is a South American dice game.
I am a shocking loser, and I am a self-confessed cheat.
Excuse me.
You never.
Yes.
I
just have to win.
I'm not coughing to sort of accentuate the point that you're a bad loser.
They're very well timed.
I can just do with a little bit of a water. There we are. That's better. Right, so there is the team of the tournament as chosen by Ben, Dick and myself. Coming up next, it is the Bet Butler. We're back in a couple of minutes. You're watching Sports Tonight Live. This is the Six Nations Rugby Show. I'm Roger Williams, and I'm joined by former England coach Dick Best and Ben Coles of rugbyblog.co.uk, and we're talking betting. And it's an interesting one with the bets. Let's have a look. Yeah. Let's put them up there. Italy-Scotland first. This is a fascinating match. It's a wooden spoon match, but it's more than that. Outright, Italy 6-4. Scotland 13-8 on. So Scotland the favourites, but I don't know, there might be a little bit of value there.
I think Italy will certainly win this. If I was placing a bet, I would be behind Italy. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
It's like no. I'm not parting with my money there.
Think of the run of Scottish defeats, and they've won in Rome twice since the Six Nations began. So 2 and 6, yeah, Italy certainly.
No, I just think this is last chance saloon for Scotland. I think they'll come out like rabid dogs, and they'll beat them quite comfortably in the end. I really do.
What about a draw?
Well, we said when the draw
first got caught out, by the way. Just explain what happened with the draw before. You were advised
to take it
by Nigel Seeley, the bet butler, to take a draw. You didn't, and we had one, of course.
And we had one. And I marked this game out of all the games as the most likely to get a draw. And once again, I'm looking at 20-1 for a draw, and I'm thinking, yeah, probably.
So probably not a bad bet, is it? In this
No,
game?
no.
There's been draws before.
I mean,
haven't there?
Italy, I mean, Wales in the past have drawn with Italy.
Have you? God,
Yes, years
that is
ago,
bad.
2005, 2006, I think, down at the Millennium Stadium at home.
It's a while ago.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
Right, England, Ireland. Outright, England, 13-8 on. The draw once again, 20-1. And Ireland, 6-4.
Pretty tasty.
I think there's a bit of value there. I'd go with the whole sort of, this whole Irish week, the Cheltenham, St. Patrick's Day. They'll be mad for it.
And they have played very well.
Yeah.
I see a bit of value in that. England have had that fantastic result in Paris, but that doesn't guarantee an Irish win by any means. So yeah, Ireland probably worth a flatter.
What about the handicap?
What about it? I still don't know how it works.
Well, England -3,
Yeah.
so a 3-point head start. 10-11. We'll leave it.
Yeah,
We'll go. I think there's value in Ireland there. Dick, you can't see it, can you? It's England all the way through.
I actually have no interest at all in the gambling, having handed over vast sums of money to Nigel Seeley, the bet butler.
We won't talk about what the bet was for.
I was going to say.
It's so depressing, gambling, losing, and I hate losing, and I hate giving away my hard-earned money, that I sort of wish I could crawl under the table here when the betting comes up, because A, I don't really understand it. B, I don't know. How do you decide? You know.
And Stephen Ferris says the English are bad losers. What's he on about? No truth in that at all.
Look at that Wales-France. I mean, outright Wales 5-2 on. That's huge favourites.
I think if
France
And quite rightly so.
Yeah, quite rightly so. But again, you've got it's a massive game. France have not been. It's this one game. Have they got that one game in them? I mean, obviously, I wouldn't bet on France against my own nation.
no,
Never.
heaven forbid.
Maybe.
It could soften the blow if it all goes horribly
it
wrong.
would soften the blow very much.
11-5. Goodness me. Let's have a chat then on the predictions. Let's go back to the start on the Italy-Scotland game. Ben.
Yeah, I think Italy are going to win this. I've just got a feeling that they, at home against England, they were so close in that remarkable game in those horrendous conditions. Yeah, I just fancy an Italian win. If Chris Burton can actually kick his goals, then yeah, that pack will dominate that Scottish pack. No doubt about it in my mind.
Dick.
I rather fancy Scotland, actually. I just have a feeling that they've put together bits and pieces in all the games that they've played in, haven't really been able to sustain it for 80 minutes. We're looking for, I think 60 minutes will be good enough against the Italians. If they can produce the sort of level of performance that they've done so far in this championship for 60 minutes against Italy, they will score enough points to win the game.
England, Ireland.
Yeah,
Both going England, obviously.
Yeah, no, I will go England, but I will say that England have surpassed all my expectations for this tournament. I thought they might even lose at Murrayfield, and I certainly didn't think they'd win in Paris. So if they finish with 4 out of 5, and it all comes down to that try from Scott Williams, that they miss out on a championship, fair play to them. Yeah, England by 6.
Well, every week I keep sort of backing whoever England are playing, and England keeps sort of surprising me by getting better and better. So I'm going to back Ireland this time. I just think St. Patrick's Day...
You're just doing it to stick with that, knowing that it'll go the other way. And
I'm hoping and praying. I just think Ireland are a more complete side. They've got very good goal kickers, very good people who can sort of orchestrate the game. The halfbacks last week looked very comfortable. So I just think they'll have a little bit more control. I think they'll compete with us up front as well. So it'll be parity there. And I just think they've got more match winners than we have. So I'm going to go for Ireland. I think it's going to be a bizarre season for England, where you win your 3 away games and you lose your 2 home ones.
Down at the Millennium Stadium, it'll be madness. People with daffodils around their heads.
Well, that's normal, isn't it?
Isn't that every day?
It does make me laugh. I mean, I'm proud to be Welsh. It just makes me laugh because I don't think there's any other country in the world where people put a flower around their head.
No, very much unique, which is great.
And I don't have one, by the way. Maybe
Sure.
I should.
Sure you
A
don't.
daffodil.
No, I haven't.
Are you
Who
going?
knows?
You're not going.
You're not going.
I'm not.
Oh.
I'm working at hospitality in Twickenham.
Taking the Queen's
Twickenham.
shilling.
Taking the Queen's shilling, not supporting my own nation. But I think Wales will do it. I think this team, they've got that X factor. They've got the edge.
Yeah, I think they will do it as well, and fair play to them. Fair play for really kind of grabbing those wins at the last minute against Ireland and against England. They've deserved it.
Go on, say it with a smile, Dick.
I think they've got the X factor. I think all the things lead to a Grand Slam, but I can't subscribe to it. I'm sorry, I just can't. And
He starts breaking out in a rash when he gets close to the Severn Bridge.
I'm going to go for the French in this because I have a feeling that they might be a complete shambling wreck of a team. I just think for one, we are due one performance.
I tell you what, I can just see him at his hospitality serving generous portions of French brie and the old Bordeaux wine. There you go. So,
We've got a nice South African Bordeaux blend. Actually.
There you go.
That's about as far as I can go because I'm not sure about them either. But I'm going to go for the French in this game. Not that they are traditional party poopers, but I think they are a good team underneath all the things that are sort of camouflaging it at the moment.
enjoy the weekend, gentlemen, and you at home enjoy the last weekend of the Six Nations. And should Wales win the Grand Slam, just embrace it. From all of us here, bye for now.